Our union story is there to be seen. We've won many victories and we've suffered defeats. But as I turn through the pages and look back through time, there's one single question stands out in my mind. Today we may prosper, today we live free. But if it weren't for the union, where would we be? It's our union that defends our rights. But our union's as strong as our will is to fight. For the union is you and the union is me. So stand up and stand by our union.
New ideas about social relations were being thought, and workers acting together were becoming a great force.
The war with Germany has brought into existence a new power, greater than all the powers put together, the organised working class thinking internationally. And at any moment that international thought may be fused into international action. A single false step will spell disorder for the whole capitalist system. Australian Workers Union paper.
News came of the revolution in Russia. Australian workers heard of Russian workers who had overthrown the old powers and were trying to create a great democracy with great freedoms. There was real excitement. Society could be changed to allow fair and equal distribution of wealth. Australia was in the throes of social upheaval. In 1917, Harry Preedy brought paint workers to the Young Union. Preedy also brought the radical thinking of the international workers of the world that the Union was part of a world movement committed to peace and international socialism.
When the paint section was formed, no less than 4 trade unions were approached at the Sydney Trades Hall, and the only one which was interested was the MWU.
This paint section would later provide crucial industrial muscle for the Missos. The Missos sought more members from the most diverse backgrounds.
Motor car washers,
lift attendants,
paint workers,
employees in motor garages,
flag makers,
bag makers and repairers,
sash makers and repairers,
bill posters.
As well, the Missos sought strength through amalgamations with other small unions.
Tent and tarpaulin makers and machiners union,
billiard markers union,
licensed bill posters union,
Elliott's and Australian Drug Limited chemical workers.
Some members wanted to lead the Missos onto a radical road. Here was the turning point. Should the Missos concentrate on wages and conditions, or should they join the revolutionary movements to change society? The first big struggle for the leadership of the union had begun. Joe Coote's leadership was attacked. First they moved to have the union motorcycle sold so that Coote could not organise. Then they found that he had not paid his dues. He was defeated in the next election. But the Radicals' glory was short-lived. They led in New South Wales for only 18 months. A world disaster overtook them before they could implement their plans. In 1929, on Wall Street, New York, the bottom fell out of the share market. Although it was half a world away from Australia, our economy was devastated.
Every morning, more and more workers joined the waiting groups at the factory gates, hoping for the infrequent job. And more were thrown upon their own resources to earn a few shillings as best they may.
The parts of the economy where the Missos worked were savaged. Unemployment went through the roof. Future members of the Missos went hungry. Families were thrown out of houses. Doug Howitt and Neil Byron remember well.
Well, we were only kids at the time, you know, but it made a big difference to our quality of life. We lost everything, our home, and father lost his job.
No one else was working in the family, only the old man. And he was only getting £3 a week and keeping 10 kids. And I could suffer that, you know, and I told the family that I was going to buzz off, you know, and so I took off and jumped the rattler. and listened to the stories, you know, in the early 30s of people wanting to change society, you know. There was lawyers, there was everybody on the trains. Odd blokes would get in the truck with you and they'd talk all from the night about it, you know. Now you're going to change society, you know, if there was no leadership.
As capitalism shuddered, employers took the chance to claim wage reductions.
The firm was increasing. It was going along fine, but we got memos to say that from the following week we'd get a 7.5% cut in our wages. Now, there was absolutely no cause for that. As a matter of fact, they should have given us an increase. And, of course, I screamed blue murder. And, but no, of course, nobody then would support you because they were frightened of losing their jobs. And at the end of the week, the boss was in and came in a beautiful new big Dodge car, and his wife was in a new fur coat, full length. I said, there's our 7.5% wage cut, which of course it was.
Even in these hard days, the union coverage was expanded.
Lead workers,
Asbestos sheet manufacturers,
plaster of Paris workers,
resin makers,
chemical workers,
plastics workers,
lino makers,
cork workers,
gardeners.
The Depression had undermined the Missos. The economic recovery was slow. Most importantly, the wages and conditions of members were falling behind those of other workers. In the corroding shed at Balm Paints, Ray Pedith saw tough conditions. Lead, bark and acid, layer upon layer, up to 20 layers, formed a potent brew in the confines of this corroding pit.
They built those up, or sometimes 10, 12, 20 tiers high, sometimes 2 ladder lengths to climb out, and the heat. Black dust all over you, and about 3 years I'd stayed there, I think, and that was long enough, and I could, I don't know, you were never feeling right. Well, what would you do with this lead dust flying around? And it's a killer.
The union seemed to lose its way. Decision-making was paralysed. Small groups dictated policy for the majority. Faction fought faction.
They were yes men. Oh, pathetic. We were at a meeting one night, and old Bill Smith had an alarm clock and he was ringing the bell how long he'd let them talk. And that sort of stuff. We're getting nowhere.
The advance towards fair wages and good conditions in the union was stalled. After the bitter experiences of the Depression came the danger of fascism. Another world war erupted. Peace did come, and so came optimism and a new phase in the Misso's history. The world had changed. Workers wanted more. They deserved more.
Well, in many ways, the Second World War had the same effect on the labour movement as the First World War. Again, people expected that there would be a brave new world. And they had plenty of reason for that too, because the governments during the war had told them that it would be so. It had told them to keep their morale high that there would be things like a 40-hour week and full employment. And people believed it. And they trusted in the Chifley Labor government to bring those things about.